Today on the Diz List, we discuss the top 5 ways to beat the heat at Walt Disney World.
Welcome to the Diz List, the podcast that ranks everything in Walt Disney World. I'm Nick.
And I'm Rob, and welcome to episode 28, where we discuss the top 5 ways to beat the heat at Walt Disney World.
But before we get to the list, if you've been enjoying the show, please take the time to rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I mentioned on social media the other day that we have a kind of a New Year's resolution, a goal. We'd like to kind of improve our listens by 4 times. That's what I want to get. I want to get up to about 500 listens in the first week of release. You think that's possible, Rob?
Yeah.
I mean, definitely do.
Our listeners have been really good about sharing it out, recommending it to friends, and that's a big part of it.
Yeah, that's our combined Diz List New Year's resolution, I guess, is to try to get a few more listens and spread the show around. What do we have coming up in our new year, though, Rob? You have something really exciting.
Yeah, well, I've mentioned it a lot in the podcast. If this is your first time listening, welcome to the show. If it's not, then you've probably heard me talk about, I keep using the word probably. We're probably going to Disneyland this year. Well, the good news is the tickets have been purchased, and we are going to Disneyland this year.
That is so exciting for you.
Big time. It's definitely a bucket list item.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited for you, and actually, I also had something pretty cool happen.
What?
I went in and modified my reservations through DVC, and we are staying at Bay Lake Tower.
Really?
Yeah. So like a 5-minute walk from Magic Kingdom.
So Bay Lake, so it's part of the Contemporary Resort, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So let me get this right. The Contemporary Resort is like kind of that A-frame building that the monorail goes through,
and then they have the garden wing at the Contemporary, which is kind of a separate building.
Does that one go behind the A-frame?
Yeah.
Like towards the other lake?
I'm trying to think of like the eagle's eye view, the bird's eye view there. I believe that's correct. Yes.
And then there's a separate building, if my directions are right, to the north, and that's Bay Lake Tower.
Yeah, it's kind of like a horseshoe. It looks like when you're on the outside of the ring, it looks like it's a circular tower. But when you're done on the inside, it kind of is a horseshoe, and there's like a little pool area.
Oh, the pool, right. And if you get the interior, I know there's different names for the view. So it's pool view or lake view. What are the names of the different views you can get?
So there's a standard view, which is just the first 4 floors.
Okay.
Then once you get above the tree line, they call it either a lake view, if you're facing the lake, obviously.
Sure. Or pool view. But lake's probably more appropriate.
Yeah. And then the other would be the theme park view, which is an odd view. And the reason I say it's odd is because you're paying more for a theme park view, but your initial view is of the parking lot.
That's true.
So there's a parking lot between you and the Magic Kingdom. I chose not to get to spend the extra points to get those. Going to roll the dice and see what we get for a view with a standard view. Sometimes you're on a high enough floor, you can still see fireworks. And if you're on the lake side, you can still see the lake. So they're not all horrible views, even with those standard views.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I will not be staying at a Disneyland resort. We are staying with some good friends who are letting us stay with them, which we really appreciate because this is obviously going to be an expensive trip, and a lot of our money is going to go towards that. And hopefully, we're going to go see an NBA game, which I think will be a lot of fun. But hopefully some episodes after that I can do my Disneyland report.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to kind of turning the tables on you when you did the Q&A with DVC. I want to ask you a bunch of stuff about Disneyland, and I think I've already got some ideas for an episode about that. But,
sure.
But we'll talk about that off mic at some point. I'm just really excited for this year in Disney personally. Tron is coming in 2023.
Yeah, the railroad just opened.
The railroad. Moana's walkthrough attraction is on
really
track.
Close.
Yeah, I mean, they say late 2023, but man, they're actually starting to build at the rate that Universal has been building. It seems like they're actually making progress.
You know, I was wondering the other day with that, with the Moana attraction. So people that aren't familiar with where that is, it's right in front of the Living Seas Pavilion. They still call it that? I'm using the 80s terminology, I think.
It's World, what are they? World
The
One.
Seas, maybe?
Yeah.
All right, but you look it up while I say what I'm going to say here.
Okay.
So it's sort of in front of the Land Pavilion and the Living Seas, which I've been calling it since the 80s, but it's right in front of that area. So I'm wondering if they get that area completed, can they take down those construction walls and sort of link it in with the regular portion of the park, even though the rest of it isn't done yet? Do you think that's a possibility?
I would like to think that they can kind of work. I think what you're saying is, can they find a way to work from the outside in?
Correct.
So that they can continually make it smaller obstruction.
Yes.
I think that would be a smart way to do it.
Yeah.
But look,
More ticket sales.
the construction that they've been, I don't know that the construction managers are really thinking that far ahead.
Right.
Like, hey, if we did this, it would be more convenient for visitors. It is the Seas Pavilion, by the way.
It's just the Seas. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I'm right with the Living Seas. No, I think that's the name of the attraction, was called the Living Seas before Nemo did the overlay or the retheme.
It's a good thing we're experts on Disney.
Yeah. Speaking of retheme.
Oh, yeah. So, from the guys who predicted Iger coming back, Rock and Roller Coaster closed.
It sure did.
And Steven Tyler's in a little bit of hot water.
He is. Yep.
And I'm saying they're going to come back with a little bit of electric mayhem, I believe. And
how cool would that be?
Like, if that happened, do you know how many of our listeners are going to be like, these guys are actually actively workshopping ideas for Disney? They're actively on here workshopping ideas for Disney, and our responses are getting stuff done. Now, I wish we were that powerful, but we're not. But
maybe someday.
Yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting that they've decided to shut it down right at the same time that Steven Tyler's in a little bit of hot water.
It's just dated. Like, regardless of my thoughts on Aerosmith, you know, I don't love them.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you going to talk about New Year's Eve?
No, I saw a ridiculously hilarious tweet from a cast member of like things that people don't realize. And one of the things is people don't realize how many guests don't know that Aerosmith is a real band. That's how irrelevant. That's how irrelevant they are. There is an entire subset of guests who think Aerosmith is in-park IP.
Oh my, that is crazy.
Yeah, because I mean, think about it. They are pretty ridiculous looking in that.
Yeah, no, they are.
It's like this. No,
I did see them in concert once. They did a co-headlining tour with Kiss back in maybe 2002, I want to say. And I mean, they're fine. I mean, I don't dislike the band, but you know, I've been thinking about it a lot because I brought it up on the show, and I was watching the New Year's Eve. I think it was on CBS. It was the country New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
We were switching around because like Miley Cyrus had some great stuff with David Byrne from Talking Heads. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
And Sia, that was cool. And then we switched back over to watch Zach Brown Band a little bit. And these two people come out who are part of some other country group, and they did a cover of Sweet Emotion. And I went, oh, this is cool. Like,
it was a really good
I
cover.
really liked it.
It was a very good cover.
So, I don't know. I guess I was like, oh, okay. I guess Aerosmith has one or two good songs, but...
Well, I mean, he was 19 when he wrote that song. That's pretty awesome. So
it's pretty good, but anyway.
All right, we're going to head off to the soundtrack or sound check. Who did we spring for Aerosmith?
I think they might need money since they're not getting the income from the Rock and Roller Coaster anymore.
All right, we're off to the halftime show, folks. See you after the break.
What did her daddy do? So, in order to get our podcast started, we needed some way to get it out for everybody to hear. So what we decided to do was go online and look around and try to find someone who can distribute our podcast to all the main services for us. We did a little research and we found that the best one was Anchor. Now, Anchor's a Spotify company, and Spotify is something that I use every day, but it also goes to other platforms. It's an easy way to make a podcast, and everything is right there in the app. So, for example, Anchor has tools that you can record, edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. If you don't have any professional editing software, you can do it right there on your phone. When you host your podcast on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on all the different listening platforms. They do Spotify, but you can also do Apple Podcasts and many more. Okay, students, let's review. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. If you don't have all the equipment and all the computer editing software, you can do it right on your phone. And the best part is it's free, like free, which is great for sure. Go and download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Go for it.
Welcome back. So since it's like 22 degrees outside, I thought we should talk about beating the heat. Yeah. It's wintertime, folks.
All right, I'm going to start with my number one for Beat the Heat, and it's Dirk Nowitzki.
What?
Do you get that reference?
Yes, I do. You said his name wrong.
I've been waiting to say that.
You said Nowitzki.
Nowitzki.
There you go.
He's German.
Yeah, but you said you had an N in there.
Oh, like Monica Lewinsky?
Yeah, that's kind of how you said it. Oh. That's okay.
I don't want to make that reference.
Yeah, beat the heat.
This is a family show.
Yeah, beating the heat is something that I feel we both need to do. I posted on Instagram like how to beat the heat, and literally like my second response I got was move north. I was like, well, yeah. And then the other one was go in the winter. It's like, yeah, some of us can't.
Yeah.
And not only that, but even when you go in the winter, for us northerners, the heat down there is still hot, right?
Yeah.
Even in the winter. I mean, don't get me wrong. Last week when the whole country was dealing with 30-degree weather, it was cold in Orlando, or colder in Orlando as well. But
yeah, I got a message from our buddy Eric from Ear Scouts.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's the temperature there? He said 2 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a great response.
Yeah. Almost below zero.
It was. That's cold.
It is. That is cold for down there.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like for Florida, that obviously is like when we have those heat waves up here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's just the inverse.
And so they're not used to it. They're not prepared for it. And that's why you see things like Texas, the power grid, when we're told, hey, conserve power because it's going to be really hot and everybody's got their air conditioners blowing and it's a week straight of 90-degree weather. That's kind of like what they were going through with the cold down there.
New York and Orlando are just opposite. I mean, it's we're cold the majority of the year, and we get these serious freezes and storms, and they have the inverse. So I always say how, I'll always say to my family in Orlando how in the summertime they're basically stuck inside an AC, and I'll say, well, for us in the wintertime, we're stuck inside in the the heat essentially. So it's just kind of it's opposite, but I mean we. As far as this list goes with Beat the Heat, it's something that we deal with every year when we prepare for our trips, because the majority of the time we're going down in the summer.
Yeah.
I've done a few trips that are not summer trips, but the majority of the time, since we're teachers, we're utilizing our summer breaks. So
well, when you went for your holiday vacation, the Christmas vacation you did, I'm sure it was warm when you were there.
It was, and I'm pretty sure it was shorts and T-shirts. I maybe wore pants one day, but I'm, comparatively, I'm sure a lot of the Floridians were wearing, hoodies and pants.
Yeah,
but
hoodie season for them.
We're like, all right, here we go. Or shorts
You're
and a T-shirt.
jumping into the pool, and everybody's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, my list is kind of full of some general ideas, and then I have very specific points to make from those general ideas.
Sure.
So why don't we go ahead and get started here? What's your number 5 way to beat the heat?
My number 5 way to beat the heat, and I know a lot of these are going to be on both of our lists. So if you want to jump in at any point, you can, or if you have a separate point, you can too. So my number 5, especially as a bald guy, is sun cover. So for sun cover, I kind of did it in one category, and I did, different hats that you can wear, and this has kind of been just my way of life since I lost my hair around 25 years ago. And I try to wear like a mesh hat when I'm down there, but I mentioned this in the podcast before too. Even though you're wearing a mesh hat, you still need to put sunscreen because you're still getting sun exposure.
Yeah.
And the other one, and I don't know what we call them because you wear one of these too. Yours is the mission hat, but I just call them a safari hat.
Yeah,
is there a name? It's not really a bucket hat.
Yeah, it's not a bucket hat, but I would say a safari hat's fine. It's my lawn mowing hat as well as because it's very light. It keeps the sun off of my head. I can wet it down, wring it out, and it keeps me cool.
Yeah, those are really nice.
Now, I did not put sun cover on my list. I did not put a hat on my list because I always think of its utility more about like keeping me from burning.
Sure.
But I suppose that makes sense, right?
Well, and then the other one too with this that I'll add in, and you and I have talked about this off air a lot, is the UV umbrella.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they sell these umbrellas, obviously, that they will shield you from when it rains, but it's also has UV protection. So if you're standing in line, let's say you're in Hollywood Studios and you're waiting for Slinky Dog,
yeah,
a lot of sun exposure.
Yep.
So having that University of Buffalo umbrella, it all comes back to Buffalo, folks.
Go Bulls, right?
Yes.
They're the Bulls.
We are the Bulls.
Oh, sorry.
I am an alumni.
Oh, I forgot.
Yes, I am a UB alumni. So we are the Bulls. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was the reason for the slip. So the UV umbrella, the only tip that I would give people is don't put your umbrellas out in front of people when you're watching the fireworks, and be very careful when you're moving that you're not poking other people in line in the eye. I don't have a personal story about that. I just feel like it's something that would definitely happen.
Yeah, not that you have done.
No, I'm pretty good about that stuff.
Right, but there was the woman in front of us this summer.
Yeah,
who quite literally opened her umbrella into our wives.
And it wasn't really even raining at that point, I don't think.
No, it was not.
And she just opened our umbrella and
into the faces of our wives.
Your wife was like, excuse me. It was so awesome.
The thing like smacked her in the face. It's like, what are you doing? It's not even raining out.
Well, that was funny.
And it wasn't sunny. We were waiting for fireworks.
Yeah. So that's my number 5. What's your number 5?
My number 5 is something that I always kind of laughed at people that had these things. And I thought, those things don't work. And it's funny because a friend on social media contacted us. And he actually has a podcast as well, that Disney Hustle. But he said, I broke down and got one of those cooling towels. And I don't get the ones that are from Disney. I have ones, I think they're called Frog Togs is the name of them.
Yeah, I have one too. I don't know what it's on my honorable mention, but
it's not.
I don't remember. Oh no, it is on my list. Never mind.
Oh, okay. So it's definitely something that is. I laughed at people. Those things don't work. They can't possibly. And I am shocked at how well they work.
Yeah, they do.
I don't have one of the Disney branded ones, so I can't speak to those. But the ones that I have, the Frog Tog ones, are great, and my kids love them too. They have smaller ones. They're kind of like a little longer, rectangular, almost like a mini scarf.
I was just gonna say that the one we get, they're blue on one side, gray on the other, and it's like a scarf. And we would wet it in the drinking fountain, wring it out, and then my son would wear it around his neck, or I would put it on my head.
Yeah.
Or we had a couple of them.
Yeah, I would wear it around my neck. A lot of your body's blood is traveling through the arteries and whatnot around your neck, so it makes sense. And on top of your head too, obviously, is a great place for it. They work, and I'm kind of shocked that they work as well as they do. So those towels definitely work, and they are number 5 on my list. How about your number 4, Rob?
My number 4 is actually fans.
Ooh,
and I was never really, no pun intended, for real. Was not a fan of fans.
I cannot believe you just said that.
No, that's way too cheesy. Like, if it was, that's even beyond dad jokes stupid.
Okay, all right.
So fans, there's 3 different types. One of which I have not done. I've never done they look like headphones. and people wear them around their neck, and it's like two fans pointing at your face.
Yeah, I've seen them.
I don't even know how to describe those. Those I haven't used. That's kind of in the realm of, I don't know. I think not really for me. Some people love them, and I see a lot of people using them in the park. The two I have, one is my son had the spray bottle fan, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
We actually got that at Walgreens in Orlando before we went to the park. So it was like a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, I would. Let me interject here.
Yeah.
Both for my cooling towels and any of these fans, don't buy them in the park.
No.
Don't buy them on property.
No, you can get them. And I mean, even if you are, so let's say this situation was what happened with me. Let's say you are on property and you want one of those things. What we did is we had a car, or you could take a minivan or, Uber or Lyft over to Walgreens. I think it was Walgreens. I'm pretty sure it was Walgreens, or it was CVS, or it was one of those drugstore. I'm going to go with Walgreens. So what we did is we drove right past Disney Springs, and off property, we took a left, and right there was a drugstore. So my wife had to refill her prescription there, and we bought a couple little essentials. It was really good. We saved a ton of money just from going there. So I bet if you don't have a rental car, the cost of your Uber or your Lyft plus what you just spent is still probably going to be cheaper for all those items.
So I'll say this: you can get. So the Disney Parks ones, I think, are like $35
For the spray things?
for the spray bottle.
My God,
Yeah.
I think we spent $5.
The official Disney Parks one. You can get a
Jeez.
Disney themed one on Amazon.
Yeah.
For $20. And by the way, in Orlando and in large cities, Amazon has like same day delivery.
Yeah, they do.
We've had instances where my mother-in-law left her sunglasses behind
Yeah.
one time, and obviously they're gone. We couldn't find them again. So ordered them on Amazon, and they got delivered to the room by the time we got back. So
We'll usually buy them because our kids don't have prescriptions, so we'll get them at the dollar store,
Yeah.
and we'll get like 2-3 pairs in case they lose them.
Yeah, but so you can get them on Amazon for $20 for like a Disney themed one, all the way down to a non-Disney themed one, like you said, $5, $6, $7.
Another fan, and these we've used before. They're cool. It's like a handheld fan. It's kind of like they fit in the palm of your hand. They almost are about as big as those like lipstick battery chargers.
Yep.
With a fan on the top.
Yeah, I know what you're
But it's
talking
a USB rechargeable one.
Yeah. So are those ones that are like headphones, by the way. Those ones that are like headphones are actually the same thing, and those also can be charged. And I believe they make a similar one that actually will connect to a child's stroller.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Yeah, it's actually on the table next to me. It's by Version Tech.
Whoa.
VERSION Tech. And you hit the button and there's 3 different speeds.
Yeah. Man,
And-
you're a ways away, and I can feel that. Well, that's gonna be.
Yeah, Nick's on the other side of the room and I'm pointing it at him and he can feel it from
Yeah,
there.
that's pretty good.
Yeah, here.
Wow.
They're pretty nice. So I got that on Amazon. I don't remember the price. It was relatively cheap, but I'll keep that in my bag and pass that around when we need it. So
Definitely a good idea.
yep. So number 4 for me, fans, many different types.
Rob's a fan of fans.
I'm a fan of fans. Only for number 4 though. What'd you have for 4?
4 is kind of an interesting one because I just told you to not buy those things on property. My number 4 way to beat the heat in Disney is to go shopping.
Oh yeah.
Just go in the stores. The shops are generally pretty well themed, so you're still in the Disney theming. And who doesn't like a good, break in one of those stores looking at merch? And you walk by the Emporium and you can feel the air conditioning come out sometimes.
It's great.
So, I love to, instead of walking up Main Street, sure, the first time you walk up Main Street, you want to be able to look at the castle the whole way. But I'm a big fan of jumping into the Emporium, walking the whole distance, the whole length, going from store to store on the inside, all the way up until you can't go anymore. So basically up to Casey's and popping out that way. And you beat the heat that way. And that's in Magic Kingdom, but it's the same pretty much every park. The only park that I feel lacks those kinds of shops is Animal Kingdom.
They have one that they kind of, it's
Yeah.
the same size, but it's split into 2.
Right.
So
But
right,
it's only on the front one part of the park.
correct.
Whereas
I'm
like
trying to think of the name of it. I used to know the name of that little gift shop too.
all of the parks have them spread throughout, with the exception of Animal Kingdom. Like Hollywood Studios, there's little shops you can go into.
They have a lot.
They do. And then you've got over in Epcot, not pretty much, every single country pavilion has places to go in and get air conditioning. So
those are great, and I love going inside of those. You can do it every country because they always have merch themed to their specific area.
And it's not necessarily Disney merch, which is really cool too.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
you're definitely paying a Disney premium for stuff you could probably get on Amazon or from a local, Kohl's or something like that for cheaper. But it's definitely one of the ways that I beat the heat is when I feel like I just can't take it anymore. I'm like, you know what? Let's go spend some money.
Yeah.
And it's usually I'm just like looking and, window shopping, if you will. But it's a great way to beat the heat and still be, enjoying Disney and looking at what there is on offer. And I think honestly, they know that, and that's why they spread those shops out, and that's why they are air conditioned, is because people will go in there and spend time. The longer you're in there, more likely you are to buy something.
Of course.
So,
Daddy, I want this.
and the number of ears or pins I've bought because of that. So yeah, number 4 for me is to go shopping.
So my number 3 was cooling towels, but we covered that one pretty well.
Sorry.
Well, no, I've quite a few that are just off of my list that I can bump in really any of these.
Okay.
But I just want to tell people that's the one I put as my number 3.
Okay.
But the next one down that I thought I would throw in there is you can go on one of the water rides. And I don't mean like a boat ride. I mean like and I know this ride is closing very soon, but Splash Mountain, that's going to cool you off on a really, really hot day. But a lot of people also, and I don't mind it. That's why it technically is number 6 on my list, but I don't mind it on a really hot day. If it's cold or if it's at the end of the night and you're just soaked, like that's really not a great feeling to have. But go on a water ride. Kali River Rapids, once they retheme it to Shang-Chi, I think that. Oh wait, sorry,
Jungle Book.
Jungle Book 1.
Jungle Book.
So we're going with Jungle Book, and I did like your idea.
We know
to be fair,
based
though,
on
it is a good idea.
and we know based on Disney's recent changes they've made with rides and whatnot, and CEO that they listen. So
And I did see, I was watching some Disneyland videos, surprise, that Shang-Chi is one of the walk-around characters. I thought that was cool.
that is cool.
I don't know. I really like that movie.
So
I don't know if anybody else did. Anyways, water ride is what I have for number 3 if you feel like cooling off.
That's definitely on my honorable mentions, because it is a great way to cool off, and it is so hot that generally speaking you dry off quickly.
You do.
I will say that there are certain days that I'm like, I just don't want to do the water ride because of the things that you mentioned. Like, maybe I've got a reservation later and it's like, I don't know if I'm going to dry out enough.
Yeah.
Or like I always get stuck on the right side of the boat, and then there's a backup when you're going by that waterfall that at the end of Splash. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Before they load you back in.
Oh, my wife always gets stuck right there.
That's where I always get stuck, and it's like pouring water into my underwear. It's like, oh man, it's coming right in, and I'm sitting in a puddle. But yeah,
actually, there's good timing on this one too. And another one I had on honorable mention is, so I bought these shorts. They're they look like regular old shorts, but they're made by LL Bean, but they have a lining like a bathing suit. So the nice thing about these shorts are like you can kind of wear this as a bathing suit all day, even though they just look like regular old shorts.
I have
Columbia ones like that too?
Columbia ones that are like for fishing and like getting wet. They're great. They dry out so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're awesome.
I would recommend using that too, because I don't want to get into underwear talk. That can be a little weird, but it's definitely much cooler if you're just wearing one layer and the bathing suit. You're gonna dry off quicker too.
Yeah,
so.
It definitely dries off quicker, and that material is kind of almost nylon-y.
Yeah.
So it's water wicking. Mm-hmm. So that's cool. Number 3 actually is for me very similar to what you were mentioning there or what we were just mentioning, which was clothes wise.
Yep.
Number 3 for me is a change of clothes. So I've talked about this.
Oh yes, yes. Highly support this one.
If you have like a lightweight shirt, and I don't know how to describe that material, Rob. If you can describe it,
It's like Performance Tech or
yeah.
They make a lot of the like Under Armour makes a lot of shirts like that are
heat gear.
Yeah, they call it heat gear, or Nike has a very specific name. It's Dry Tech, DRITEC.
So those types of material, if you have one of those, pack it in your bag. They fold up, or they ball up. They don't get wrinkled.
Yeah.
You can toss them in the bottom of your bag, and once you get to a point where you feel like I can't take anymore, I'm sweating through this shirt. The way that you feel when you just take that nasty, sweaty shirt off and put this new, fresh shirt on, it makes you feel better, and it's cooler. You feel cooler already, and that's something that I put on here is bring a change of clothes, specifically for me a shirt, but maybe you want to bring something because you did go on a wet ride and you want to change your shorts as well, but certainly. A top for me, you bring in put me in a different shirt.
Oh heck yeah!
And it's like a whole new me. And I mentioned this year, there's like the first half of the pictures of the day
we're wearing
one thing, and then the second half we're wearing another thing, and it's all at Hollywood Studios. We didn't go home or go back to the room, I should say, and change, but we are wearing two different tops.
Oh yeah.
Depending on what you can tell, is this before Ogas or after Ogas?
And if you forget to bring a shirt, buy another one and ball up the other one and put it in your backpack.
If you forget to bring a shirt, see my number 4, go shopping, and then now you have another shirt.
Exactly.
Perfect. But really, I do think that's a great way to beat the heat is bring an extra shirt, switch it out.
Definitely.
So that is my number 3. What's your number 2, Rob?
My number 2 is water, water, water.
Water, water everywhere. Backside of water.
I'm trying to have sound effects today. I don't know if that's... I don't know if you guys can hear that.
It's a Foley.
Yeah, so water, water, water. It'll keep you cool. So there's quite a few different ways you can do this. And I call this Nick's method, which is you can freeze the water bottles, which I thought was a great idea, which we'll be doing again in the future. But what we've done as a family is we've had the different metal water bottles, the canteen style either. We have a Yeti one that we use, and...
Hydro Flask.
That's the one. I was just saying, I forgot the name of the other brand. My daughter has one of those ones that she likes to use. So we'll drink water all day long. But the problem is, and I've sort of gotten used to this taste since I've been going to Orlando my entire life.
The sulfur?
Yeah, the sulfur taste. So what my uncle recommends is, my uncle always says, have some lemon to put in there, and the lemon will help mask that. So whenever my uncle goes out to eat, always when he asks for water, he always gets it water with lemon. So it's just a little tip from my Uncle John there. He says water with lemon. So just keep drinking water all day long. Most restaurants that you go into will have water for free for anybody. They
quick service reference.
Correct. Yeah. Yes, that's true. So like if you're in Magic Kingdom, Cosmic Rays, Pecos Bill's, Gaston's Tavern, any of those places, you can walk right up and get water. If you want to buy a snack, they would like that too, but they have no problem just giving you water if you need water.
Yeah, they're not looking to have to deal with emergencies from people having heat exhaustion or
which we have seen,
dehydration and whatnot. So it makes sense that they hook you up.
So not really a ton to elaborate here. Just keep drinking water. So,
I would say though, you mentioned the lemon to mask the flavor.
Yeah.
Those little like Mio.
Oh yeah, like the little flavor squeezies. Yeah.
If you like energy drinks, or if your kids like energy drinks, and you don't want to be buying Powerades or Gatorades all day, that's a great way to do it.
That is a great idea.
The tablets, or not tablets, but they're like little powder individual servings of powdered electrolytes and flavorings you can drop in.
Minute Maid makes those that make lemonade ones.
There's
Gatorade
one
does them
something
now.
IV, I think. But those are great ideas to have. It does keep you safe. It keeps you cool. Water obviously is something you need anyway.
Yep.
It's a great way to do it. My wife, I'm going to report back to you this summer. She got a really cool gift for Christmas. That is a backpack cooler.
Oh.
That is Disney. It's made by Igloo. So Igloo and Disney did a partnership.
Cool.
And this thing is, the whole backpack is a cooler. So that's where we're going to put all of our water bottles in that. and take that to the park.
Oh, so it's like an insulated one, like a lunchbox.
It is. It's like a collapsible cooler, but it looks like a backpack, and it will and like even its pockets are cooler.
Can you fold up your kid and put it in the backpack?
I mean,
if they're getting too hot?
Maybe. I don't know. It's a decent sized bag, honestly.
What's your number 2?
So my number 2 is something that I think everybody already does, but shows, right? Going to shows. So for me, and I'm including things like Carousel of Progress here, and I'll even include indoor rides in general. So I know I'm saying shows, but really I'm talking about those longer indoor rides. So like Spaceship Earth is a good one, a good example, because you don't really have to. You're generally not waiting a ton to get on that. But Carousel of Progress, going and seeing Lion King, going and seeing Little Mermaid, or the Frozen show, or Beauty and the Beast. There's a lot of different things you can go and do that are shows that you're going to sit and be cool. My son loves this attraction, but it's also a great place to beat the heat is the Hall of Presidents.
Yeah.
So I always like to be able to be doing something that's Disney related while still also beating the heat, and that's one great way to do it. Do you have any favorite like places that you beat the heat or is this on your list?
Well, I'm going to jump in because this is my number 1.
Oh.
So what I have here is I have be thoughtful and plan indoor, outdoor cues and shows.
Yeah.
So it's kind of what you said, just, me phrasing it a little differently.
Yeah.
So my example that I have, I had something prepared. So, for example, you're waiting outside for Haunted Mansion, dripping with sweat.
Yeah.
Because I'm always waiting in line for Haunted Mansion.
Yep.
Dripping. So hot. I go through the ride. You get out of the ride. You're still hot. So then what you want to do is you want to do something indoors. So you walk over to Hall of Presidents. You cool off in the lobby. You cool off and watch that great show for Hall of Presidents. You walk back out. You're feeling better. Now you walk over to Big Thunder.
Yeah,
Big Thunder. You're dripping. You're hot. It's an outdoor queue. It's so hot. Even though you're undercover, it's still like you're hot. You're outside.
When you're walking down that ramp, that is the hottest part of any queue in Magic Kingdom.
Then, once you're done there, if you're planning accordingly, hey, let's go over to Country Bears. Then you go to Country Bears, you cool off
Rob
over to
had
Country
to get
Bears.
Country Bears in this.
And Haunted Mansion. I did that on purpose.
Yeah.
But I guess my point here is it's kind of what you have too, is just as you're planning and you're deciding what you're doing in your Disney day, and you don't have to really plan it all. Some people love to do that. Okay, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. I like to kind of ebb and flow based on what the lines are like, what's open, what's closed. So I try to be thoughtful about, okay, we're going to throw in a show because it's super hot. Or like you said earlier, we're going to go shopping. But breaking up the day so you're not just stuck in the heat the entire day. That's my number 1, kind of piggybacking on your number 2.
Yeah, so I would say, there's a part, there is a show in every part of the park. Whether or not you enjoy it, that's, that might be different. But, you've got Carousel of Progress, you've got the Laugh Floor, you've got the Country Bear Jamboree. You have so many good ones. You
PhilharMagic.
PhilharMagic's another good one because that's
a great one.
That one, the queue once you get into that little room there, that's cooling you down.
Yep. Part of Peter Pan now is actually indoor, and that part it's not quite as cool in sort of Wendy's. What's that? Wendy's bedroom? Is that what you consider it?
Sure.
Okay.
The nursery, I think they call that.
Oh,
room,
yeah, that makes sense.
Nursery room.
Well, because all the kids are in the same bedroom, I think.
But there is a way to do Disney, and it's at every park, really, that you can beat the heat by going in and watching shows. And, Hollywood Studios, as much as I complain about how hot it is there's a lot of shows there. That particular park has more shows than any other park.
They have 3 outdoor shows, but it is what it is. And we've mentioned this too before, is if you think of Epcot, the majority of Epcot's queues and rides are indoors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Spaceship Earth isn't, which is always kind of a long line, and I'm not sure what's going to end up happening with Guardians of the Galaxy, because I think that line, although a good chunk of it is indoors, I have a feeling that's going to stretch outside a ways too.
Yeah, I'm sure it will once they drop the virtual queue.
Or maybe they don't. Maybe they keep. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what Disney's plan is going to be. We'll leave it up to Bob Iger now.
yeah. I do think though that shows are great, and I'm not shocked that my number 2 matched up with your number 1.
Yeah.
Not shocked at all, because I figured shows was coming, and when it hadn't shown up, I was a little surprised. So nice to know that it made it. So I'll go on to my number 1.
Yeah.
And this is probably going to be not controversial, but people be like, really? That's kind of a cop-out. My number 1 way to beat the heat at Walt Disney World is to go back to the resort. Like, know your limits. Take a break. This comes down to what Rob said about mindfully planning your day. I will go back to 2019. We wanted to see the parade, and we were there. We hadn't seen it yet. It was our last day at Magic Kingdom. Obviously, there weren't park reservations then, so I guess we could have changed things up. But we didn't have park hoppers, so we weren't going to be able to hop over there, on a day we were somewhere else. So we wanted to see the parade. And I can remember being so miserable because the only place to stand was on Main Street in the sun.
Oh, geez.
So if you're looking at the castle, we're on the right side of Main Street where the sun's beating down. It was like a real feel of 101. It was just so unbelievably hot. And I pushed through it, but it was dumb to have done that. Really, you need to mindfully plan out your day. See that parade maybe in Frontierland is probably a better bet.
Yeah.
Yes, it's iconic to see it on Main Street, but see it in Frontierland.
I love seeing it in Frontierland.
And
it's
then,
so much fun.
Yeah, I agree. And then after you've seen the parade, bounce back over to your resort. I mean, I know it's easier when I'm staying over at Poly or like I'm going to be at Bay Lake Tower, but find a way to get back to your resort. And this is true at any of the parks. Leave and come back later. The crowds will be less. The temperature will drop a little. Yes, it's not going to be cool, but it will drop a little bit. You can utilize your pool. You can take a nap. But it's a great way to beat the heat because you do not want to get to a point where you're miserable and ruining your vacation because you're pushing through something that you aren't used to. For us up here, we're not used to that heat day in, day out.
No.
And it's cool.
It's draining.
It's cool for the first 30 minutes. Oh yeah, you get off the plane in Orlando. It's like, oh wow, it's so nice out. And then by the third day, you're like, get me home.
So I had this on my honorable mentions. Parts of this, I had go back for a swim.
Yeah.
And then I had go early, go late.
Yeah, which is what I'm basically saying here is just be smart. Use your resort as your break. I have some thoughts about other ways to beat the heat that are honorable mentions. You want to get to our honorable mentions if you still have some?
Yeah. So one I just mentioned was go back for a swim, cool off, take a nap, all those type of things back at your resort. And just to reiterate what you were saying, like even if you're staying off property, for example, at a hotel that's a little further away, regardless, I think it's going to be so much better if you have younger kids to just give them a chance to recharge, cool off, swim, just chill in the hotel, and then come back over. Everyone's going to be so much happier.
I agree.
There's going to be less arguing. It's such a better way to run your Disney day. Now, we're marathoners, and we've gone open to close, gone really hard all day long. And we've made it, and we didn't kill each other, but we have found that it's really helpful to take that break in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
So the other ones I had was cool foods. Did you have that one?
I didn't, but that's a very smart one. I wasn't even thinking about that. Like you're talking about like
Mickey,
the Mickey
ice cream bar,
yeah.
Dole Whip. And then another one too, I see a lot of people wearing flip-flops, and I feel like wearing flip-flops not only is bad when it rains because they get super slippery and then they'll go like all the way up your calf.
Yeah. All I can say about flip-flops is that it just, I think of blisters. Walking 12 miles.
You got to walk so much. If you wear I think they're the Tevas or any of the ones that are connected to your feet in multiple areas, I think that would work. Crocs generally, I think, would probably be okay. But anyway, my 2 cents on that is sneakers are a must.
Yeah.
If that's You just have to. You know,
Yeah.
I know it gets hot, but sneakers are absolutely a must. And then, no, that's it. That's all I had because I threw in a couple of my other ones on number 3.
So I've got
What
a
do you
few.
have?
So I have a few we haven't mentioned. One of them is actually 2 different rides at Magic Kingdom that I always feel cooler when I'm on them, and that's People Mover.
Oh, yeah.
And Liberty Bell. I always
Yeah.
feel like there's a breeze. I think that's a great way to just take a. It's also a great way to take a load off, right? You've been walking all day.
The train, too. I know you haven't been on it, but throw that on your list.
Yeah, throw that one on there, too. And then a big part of the reason we feel so hot is because we're so crowded, right?
Yeah.
So I think another great way to beat the heat, specifically if I'm thinking of places like Epcot, is to find those quiet little sitting areas. So if you go in Epcot over behind the UK, well, it's not behind the pavilion, but in the back, in the garden area of the UK pavilion, there's a beautiful little garden there. There's like the little stage that they'll have sometimes a performer up, and sometimes I think they used to do meet and greets up there, but every time I've been back there recently has been a performer, and you can just sit, listen to some music, soak it all in, and it's so quiet back there. And a big part of beating the heat is actually getting out of those crowds. The same can be said of like over in Magic Kingdom, sitting over in the rocking chairs, if you know where I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. We did that last time,
yeah.
right across from Harper's Mill.
Yep. And then going under where, like, you know where the restrooms are, where it's covered there and it's in the shade as you're going back over.
Yes, the link between Frontierland and Adventureland.
Correct. That little, I don't even know, I keep wanting to call it a tunnel, but
It's a breezeway.
Yeah. So in there, because it is that's a very good word to use. It's a breezeway. It gets breezy in there, and
does.
it's less crowded. You know, people are only going in there if they're using the restroom. A lot of people don't use that. I feel like people don't use that as much to walk across. I feel like they're going up and around, but that's besides the point. I just think that getting away from the crowds is a great way to beat the heat as well. So that was another one that was on my honorable mention. We had some people replied on Instagram that I wanted to at least acknowledge what they said, because some of these ideas were very good. Let's see here. We've got tons of water and a handheld fan. That's Fly to Neverland on Instagram. Friend like Ellen, always here for the laughs, says go in the winter, which I think is kind of funny. A lot of them are saying the same things as us about going into shows. But this is a good one too. Not cool foods, but First Time Mouse mentions that simply just going and getting a quick service meal. So maybe using the time when you're getting really, really hot to go and take a seat in a dining area.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people are saying what we're saying. So, we're not giving any shocker tips here.
No.
But we thank you for replying to us on Instagram and telling us the same, confirming for us that what we do is what you do as well.
Or if there's something we hadn't thought of, and when we post about this episode, leave a comment. And, we're always interested in helping each other out and making our Walt Disney experience the best it can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, share the show with your friends, family, other people you think need to hear about Disney. If you have a friend who's going to Disney and always asking you questions and you're getting sick of answering, although if you're anything like us, you never get sick of answering Disney questions.
Or if you have a family member that just won't stop talking, just have them listen to the podcast and maybe they'll stop for a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, each episode's around an hour, so maybe that'll be an
Shut 'em
hour
up
of
for a while.
quiet time.
Yeah. But it's been Rob basically telling people to shut up. They're annoying. And at the end, this is how you know we're teachers and like we've been at home with our families 24/7 for 9 days.
No,
here.
my
It's like,
family's great.
Yeah.
Actually, I think they're a live audience. Are they listening right now?
I think so.
I think
They got their ears up to the door of the studio here.
well, the Mickey ears would do that too. It's like an antenna.
Yeah. But it's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, and tomorrow's just a list away.
Tune in next time, and we'll see you real soon.